Italia!
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to another episode of Milanistis 360. I'm here joined by my co-host. We have Shane and we have John, who are in Europe, and I'm all the way on the other side of the world, in Asia, in Malaysia to be specific. So yeah, we're here to talk everything about Milan, and I just want to say a special shout out to thanks to all of you who may be joining us on our various social media platforms. We are on TikTok, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Instagram. As of today, now streaming on Instagram, and of course our dedicated channel on YouTube. So yeah, welcome, and we look forward to talking about all things Milan and especially what has happened to our beloved club for this past week. So how are you guys doing? How's your week been?
Yeah, a bit tiring, but good. Actually, I can't complain about victories. So, no, it's. I'm not going to say we've turned a corner. This will come up later. I don't think we've turned a corner yet. We've not yet done it, but I'd say can't complain. 7 goals, 4-1 against. Come on, guys. Shane?
Yeah. So it's been a bit weird, just because I'm, kind of the. I think today was the time that the game started. Today was just awful. I mean, so early. Trying to get into a game this early is just so it's awful. You could even tell, like, the curva during the game. We're going to discuss the game itself later, but the curva during the game traveled really well, and they were really loud and really up for the game. But like, the time that it's on, it's like, come on, like, we like fans have other things to do on a Sunday instead of
Ask
watching it.
Husney what it was like for him. I'm curious. Did you like it, Husney? The timing of the game.
It's amazing actually.
See?
Having
See,
a game
Shane?
at 7:30 p.m.
Okay.
as opposed to 3:45 a.m. in the morning, I couldn't ask for more.
Fair enough.
This is the European privilege that we have, Shane. It's
That's
because we're in the same time zone as Milan, right? And sometimes I think that even the Premiership does this, Shane. I've seen it. I think it's for the Asian market to help them. And I think it's a give and take. And I remember, you know why I remember, Shane? Because I remember going on a business trip to Thailand and watching Milan at 2 a.m. I was like, who does this?
Yeah.
Like, these guys have to do it all the time.
Yeah, it's just I'm a bit afraid about it because like it seemed to happen quite often during the banter era that we always seem to play like these ridiculously early games, and it's just a bit
Inter play their match really early as well.
They did about the same time yesterday. Yeah. That's how I managed to watch that as well. So
There
yeah,
you go.
Asian fans grateful, and I think the fans in North America or South America, they're not complaining. I think for them it's just a matter of the early morning.
Oh, North America's very, very early. Depending which coast as well. Very early, dude.
But yeah, I guess all the love for Milan gotta wake up to sharing the joy and sharing the pain, no matter what the result is. Speaking of which, let's talk about the first big win of the week. So this is the 4-1 win over Cagliari for the Coppa Italia, and against a side that you could say been experimenting, but hey, guess what? We were experimenting as well. Ranieri's experimenting with his future, and coincidentally, for a team like Milan, also Pioli is also fighting for his future. I had thought that this would be one of the games where if he didn't do well, it might be another nail in the coffin. I don't know how many lives this coach does have, but he seems to be at this point immortal until the magic wears off, I guess. But yeah, John, I mean, what was your reaction to the game? After all, it's a convincing win, and we're on to the next round.
Yeah, so remember, Shane, we were talking about the potential lineup, and there was a bit of a fright around the idea that Mirante was going to be in goal, and but there was some excitement around the fact that 2 or 3 youth players are going to be inserted. Jimenez was one of them, and Simic and so on. So we were. I said, just for the lineup, it's worth watching this game because it's going to be exciting to see how this young blood does it. And during the game, the first and most important thing, please no one forget what Mirante did in the first few minutes. He saved us. He saved our bacon because we started slow, and Mirante made a really magnificent save. So all good for him then. The game overall, I felt was pretty easy, pretty simple. Jovic did his job really, really well. I mean, and Theo Hernandez, oh my God, he was like a steam train during this game. It was like the old Theo again, starting from centre back and just marauding through, blasting past everyone, finding Jovic. I just want to say a special word to Cagliari's goalkeeper. Is it Radunovic or something like that? He's shocking. I think that's maybe the worst goalkeeping performance I have seen in a few years. I'm sorry to say it, but that Jovic, one of Jovic's goals was straight at him. It was a shot straight at him. It just somehow the guy became made of jello and the ball went straight through him. But we saw Chaka Traore also scored, and it looks like this kid has got some real nice touches in terms of his how calm he is in front of goal. I really like that about him. And yes, Cagliari scored 1 goal, but it was like in the 87th minute. It didn't mean anything. And strangely, Leao came on and scored one of his typical Leao goals where he cuts in, far corner, curler. But no, I thought Hernandez was magnificent. Jovic did his job beautifully. He's now 100%. The guy is really interested in playing for Milan and he wants to show us what he can do. I'm really happy about that. And I was pleased with the youth coming on as well. But let's not forget what Mirante did in those first few minutes. Yeah. Shane, please go ahead.
Yeah, I think would like a great standout. I guess a pleasant surprise for me because I don't watch the Primavera as often as I really should. But I do know that so Traore obviously got the goal, which is obviously it's great to see him. I think on his debut as well, which is even more impressive. So it was great to see him score, and it's like you said, the composure that Traore seems to have. He's like when Leao is actually firing on all cylinders. He had that composure, but it's great to see Traore do well. But for me, the standout player was Jimenez. He was a great surprise. I think he looked very calm for a kid his age. He looked very dangerous going forward. He just looked very capable. I would have loved to seen him in Calabria's position, to be honest.
Oh my God, Calabria! We'll talk about Calabria.
And this is the thing, I think with Calabria as well, he's like, for someone that's wearing the captain's armband, to be not just lacking in leadership qualities, but also just in overall like quality. It's consistently happening. We do need a change, but again, we can cover that maybe later in the year when we just eventually decide that this player is junk. However, for me, good lineup from the Primavera guys. Nothing more to be said really, but Romero was disappointing. But, however, he was.
That's a good point. Yeah, that is a good point. So. Yeah, spot on that one.
I want to ask both of you a question. This is because of the Coppa Italia is considered competition where there tends to be, or there should be, quite a big amount of rotation amongst all teams, especially if you're competing in several competitions. So the fact that we had quite several Primavera players in that game, and that they did perform against Cagliari, and keeping in mind that Cagliari have just recently been promoted back into Serie A, just to ask you guys about your opinion, whether is the Primavera, the top of the Primavera, is that standard actually close to the Serie B standard? Because if so, should we rethink about loaning our players out to Serie B teams? I mean, John, What are your thoughts on this?
I have been surprised at the number of players that have come through the Primavera and proven themselves in the senior squad. Very surprised. I think Camarda was, the first one that people were like, "Oh, he's going to be amazing." But when you look at him, he's not yet quite ready. I think he's not yet quite filled out in his frame. It's Simic. When you look at him in his style of play, his ability, and his intelligence on the ball, but also his physical attributes, altogether, he looks ready. Jimenez is another one. Looks all right. Chaka Traore looked a bit small for me, but actually, he is very, very composed on the ball, and you can't take that away from anybody. So, are they Serie B standard level potentially? I think we are someone has done a fantastic job in the youth squad in selecting those players and bringing them together. Someone's training them really, really well, whether that someone is Abate or whoever you want to give credit to. We have a crop of players where we could potentially be saying 4 or 5 of them could contribute to the senior squad. That's a rare thing for us to say in in our squad. You usually think one is going to come out and explode. But I think we've got 4 or 5 that we could actually rely on. Looking at them, and I am no expert in the youth squad. It's not really been my interest. I don't watch their games, but everybody like Gio and others were saying, "Watch out! These guys are amazing. Watch them." And now that they've come onto the senior squad, he's absolutely right. So credit to him for saying that. Yeah, I think they are an excellent quality.
Okay. How about you, Shane? Do you agree with that? After all, Calabria, he himself is a youth product. So could we be birthing the next generation of Calabrias into the squad?
Well, yeah, I think we need to distinguish between being kind of banter era youth level and actually having a good youth setup, which I think we have that now. Also, hi Christian Pazmino, Forza Soccer. It's there's that word again. So yeah, I think so. When you look at the quality, right, of the players overall, so let's say we were playing a subpar Cagliari team. That is Serie B level. Let's be honest; they're kind of showing that for the most part with their form in Serie A. We're also, and today then obviously, which we'll cover in a minute, we played a kind of a subpar, Empoli team, which are Serie B level. So I think there is a lot to be said about, if these players can do it or not. So we know that Traore can, we know that Simic can, we know that Jimenez can. But I think but the thing is though, right? If we go with this under 23, be like a Milan B team, right? Aren't they playing in Serie C, not Serie B?
I don't know, Shane.
I think they're doing both. Some in Serie C, some in Serie B.
Is that it? Because I thought that they were just going to be playing in Serie C, and I don't really see much of a point. Like, you just, if you have a chance, you just loan out the player to Serie B if they're going to be playing in Serie C. But I guess then they got to start somewhere. And I know you bear down here.
Okay, just to go back to that point, is that when we did that, we weren't in the Champions League, if I remember. So the fact is that our Primavera are now playing in the Youth League, which I think is a much more competitive tournament than Serie C. So maybe the goalposts have changed in that sense to say that let's keep them in Primavera because the standard is now higher. Maybe our Primavera, quite recently, is better than Serie C, definitely. Maybe comparable to Serie B. So why take the risk of them rotting in Serie B? And because let's face it, every young player wants to get closer to the first team as much as possible. And the best way to do that is to keep training with the first team, as much time, spend more time with them, and hopefully you get integrated like how these kids are doing. But before we go on, thanks Christian for the chat, and I'm very happy that our dear Lord and Savior Krunic has found happiness in some other club. I'm surprised that he's getting, can I even call it the sack or the shaft in this way? Because, of all the people, I'm not mentioning anyone specifically, there have been so many people in the past few years have been really sticking it to me, saying that Krunic is a man that, doesn't create problems, fits very well with the squad. Yeah. Look at what is going. Okay. He is essentially leading a mutiny of one person against the club with his boyfriend, brackets Pioli. So yeah, I guess throughout the several years, I've been finally proven right. But thanks, Christian, for the comment. And I just want to go back to one of the Christian's comments about Gabbia is getting more time than Simic. I personally had thought that Simic should have come on because essentially the game was done. But I think Pioli's playing it safe, and we've seen this before from Pioli. He unless he really has to, he won't take a chance on a young player. So this is why I thought Gabbia came on.
That's it. It just takes half of the starting squad to be injured before you
That's
think.
right.
So he's getting better. Before it had to be like 3/4 of the squad. Now it's only half.
Yeah. I mean, there was talk in the Italian press, I should tell you guys, that Pioli was considering seriously starting Gabbia instead of Kier. So just be grateful that Kier did start, okay? Because Gabbia has not played a lot, and he's been benched over there. So he wasn't someone who was ready to start. So at least he's getting a few minutes. But I agree with you guys. I think Simic should have come on instead. Should we talk about the Empoli game then, since we're talking about it basically?
Yeah,
Sure.
might as well at this point. But I was just trying to check something there, right? To see where Villarreal were in the Primera. So they're 13th.
Yeah, 13th, and he's not playing.
And he's not playing.
He wasn't playing.
I think that tells you enough.
Yeah.
Well, I think we have to pay some sort of penalty back to Villarreal for taking a player midway, I think. But
We've already paid the penalty. We've had to take Gabbia back. That's a penalty.
Or maybe they paid us to take him back. I don't know how that works.
True, yeah.
Maybe they're still paying his wages. Ooh.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So on to the next game, the game that finished about my time about 2 hours ago. About 2 hours ago. We won that game convincingly, 3-0 against a relegation form or relegation threatened Empoli side. 3 goals. I personally thought that Ruben Loftus-Cheek had a great game. He scored the first goal. I don't know was that even a bicycle kick, or he's just trying to kick it back towards the group. But whatever it is, connected with the hand, penalty, converted by Giroud, and to top it all off, Chaka Traore scoring 2 games, coming off the bench. Wouldn't have expected it. Nice, calm, collected. Took the assist, one-on-one with the keeper, put it back on the net. Not even senior players can do that consistently. But yeah, good thing that he managed to keep his head on. But a little bit on Chaka Traore is that this wasn't his first Serie A game. So he has played at this level. But for a club of our stature, I think is a good purple patch.
Didn't he play with Parma?
Yeah, he did, yeah.
But were they in Serie A or Serie B at that time?
I think he played in the season that they got relegated, I think.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Skillards from Christian. Skillard, pick one. I'm guessing he's like who you want to go most, Pioli or Krunic.
Both.
Keep in mind, depending on how you answer
Christian,
this,
it's
means you
a
love
buy
the
one
other
free
person.
one deal. It's a buy one free one deal. You got to take them both. That's a package. I wouldn't be surprised if Pioli became the coach of Fenerbahce or wherever the hell Krunic is going. That might happen.
That love story has to continue.
Exactly. In another season, another location. But how about you, John? What were your thoughts about the game that just ended?
Yeah, so I took a few notes on this one because it's nice and fresh in the mind. So, first goal, 10th minute, Leao to Ruben Loftus-Cheek, very nice, very very clean finish from the center of the box. 29th minute, Male thinks that he's a volleyball player, and he blocked a shot with his hand, really quite clearly from an attempted bicycle kick, I think, from Ruben Loftus-Cheek. Giroud stuck away a really assertive and decisive penalty, top left, really hammered that. 35th minute, don't forget, guys, Florenzi hobbled off. Jimenez came in. Florenzi knew immediately to come off because he felt something. So at the moment, we're getting the same excuse, we think it's minor. Let's just wait a day or two and make a real assessment. Something strange then happened. Pioli decided, we're doing so well. We're winning 2-0. Why don't I switch Pulisic and Leao? I guess we were dominating too much, and so he wanted to give Empoli a chance. That's the only reason I can think of, because the moment we did that, we started to just sink. And in the 40th minute, Calabria pulled off a sliding tackle that I think would make Maldini vomit. He just came in from the side, completely missed the ball, knocked the player over, straight yellow card. And from that moment, I was really worried that he was going to get a red. Then, as Christian pointed out, on the 83rd minute, Gabbia comes on for Kier, who needed a bit of a rest. And then in the 87th minute, Pulisic on the breakaway, really, again, high footballing IQ. We've mentioned this before. He spotted Traore, and his finish was very calm and collected. Very nice 3-0 win. But let's not forget, now that it's fresh in our minds, what a performance and how it dropped in that second half. It was like there was a physical drop in all of the players in that second half. And this is something that we've now seen too many times this season. And I worry that teams with better strikers and better players would definitely punish us in situations like this. And so I want to know, how we move forward. And we'll talk about this later on in Pioli Corner, because this did come up. But I wanted to know what you guys thought about that assessment and the fact that we definitely dropped in the second half. Shane, far away.
Yeah, so I guess shout out Gennardi. Good comment as well. Xhaka did play great today. Leao was so rusty. It's weird. So it's like Xhaka's goal I would expect out of Leao, because that's a player playing without stress. That's a player who's hitting the field and he's going like, oh, listen, I can just play, be myself, and I can break away and score a good goal. The thing is, though, I have to give a special shout out to the RLC goal. I have to give a shout out to the team because that was great play. So I think it was Reindeer started it, passed it to, I want to say Leao. And then,
I think he went all the way back there from Adley in the box when he was,
Adley,
I don't know what,
so
toying with the
Adley.
defender. I don't know what the hell he was doing, but he passed it to Reindeers, who started to move it, progress it.
We could talk a bit about Adley as well after this, right, guys?
Yeah.
We'll have a bit of a convo about that.
Yeah. And then, obviously, the next goal then was the Giroud penalty, which barely made it in. They hit the bar. Stonewall penalty though. And then, it was great to see Traore. So that's 2 goals in these first 2 competitive games.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, stunning, great return. And again, those kind of goals though, I would expect them from Leao. And the reason that we're not getting them, I think he's just not fit. I think there's something off there. I think it's either could potentially be some sort of mental block that's going on there, which I don't really see how, because I mean he scored in the last game, right?
Or an offer is coming.
No, I wouldn't go that far. I just think there's something seriously off there. Like when you have a kid from the Primavera coming up that's basically getting subbed on for you, that's scoring, then going on to score a goal that you should be scoring, that should tell you enough. It was nice though, to the fact that when Traore scored, he ran to the bench and then all the players came over and hugged him, including Leao. That's good, right? Shows good team spirit. For me though, overall, this is ironically, this is the kind of result that we should be expecting out of this team versus someone like Empoli. The thing is, though, John, as you said, this can get very dangerous later on in the season when we're playing good teams, because we do seem to fall off very quickly and very sharply, and then especially in the defensive phase, we kind of, we get wrecked. Chrissy, yeah, that's a fair point. He did get an assist in the first half for the RLC goal, but in terms of he
can do more, right?
He can really do more. I mean, especially against this team. But that's the thing though, Christian. Yeah, the second half the attack was quiet, but when you say the attack was quiet, that meant that's because we were sitting back. But look what happened when we sat back. I mean, there was a couple of good solid attempts for Empoli in that second half, right? If we're playing against a good team, they're going in, and that's that level of performance, right? Let's say if it was, I don't know, we're 3-0 up against Juventus, right? Those goals are going in, those goal attempts. It could end up 4-3. So, I mean, yeah, we're just something's off. I think it's our players run out of gas. It's consistently happening. And we just don't have defensive-minded players, including Adley. To be honest, he's great, can really find a good pass, but we don't have enough, enough of defensive-minded players in the midfield to kind of, hold up play, and that's where we're suffering, I think.
So, Hasni, what did you think of the game? And after that, I would like to have a quick chat about Adley.
So Husney's just busy buying Krunich's air tickets.
He seems to be, isn't he? He's booking them now.
No, I'm actually playing intermediary between Fenerbahce and Redbird or the club. I'm not taking any commission. It's just I want this guy to go.
No, he's like, Husney's like,
a matter
we will
that-
pay you Fenerbahce to take
That they
this
can't do the paperwork or anything. I said I'm going to do it pro bono. Okay, I'm not a lawyer or anything, but I'm going to do all this pro bono. Anything you need, I'll pack his bags. I'll go to the travel agent. I'll take him to the airport. I'll drive him to Turkey, wherever the hell he's going. But yeah, I mean, John, I thought that it was convincing performance where it mattered. So whenever we had a good attack, or whenever we had attack, I thought generally it was good. So, for example, like in the last goal where we spoke about Chaka Traore, had we really switched off, and I think this is the benefit of bringing younger players, they really wanted. Chaka Traore, he didn't have to run. He could have played it safe like a lot of the other players. He didn't have to make that run. He could have hung back and said, okay, let's do some wasting time, because, come on, it's the 88th minute. They could have just held on and just said, okay, we did our job anyway. But him wanting to score the goal, I think, is really put the nail in the coffin and really sent Empoli on their way. Because, let's face it, in that lull, they could have scored and they could have equalized. And any other team, and like you said, John, a better team would have done that. Because we look at so dysfunctional. It's like, I didn't see the attack being put together. I saw Empoli becoming a lot more aggressive. And keeping in mind is that Empoli are on track to be relegated. So this is a sort of threat that we have from teams down there that, they don't want to end up in Serie B. They're fighting for their lives as well, and for their careers, as a matter of fact. So that being alert is something that the team really needs to work on. And I hope Pioli, for whatever time that he has left, if he sees the form dropping or the mind's not in it, put players who really want to be there, who really want to be on the pitch. Some of those players, when the job is done, you could have kept it there. Bartezaghi, for example, Jimenez, I thought they didn't do a bad job. I know that they're young and they have a mistake in them, but these are players that really want to show a performance. Jimenez had a good run, by the way. I think he's been watching Theo.
He also picked up a yellow.
Same as Calabria.
Yeah. Yeah. And Ruben Loftus-Cheek picked up a yellow as well. So I agree with you guys. Ruben Loftus-Cheek had a decent game, but he put in a tackle that was like, this is going to put you at risk. And in the second half, my biggest fear was Calabria and RLC were going to be targeted. And Empoli were going down our left, down our right, or their left wing all the time. I think they were hoping to grab Calabria and get him sent off, Thankfully, Pioli eventually did react to take him off. Way too late, in my opinion. He really did take a risk that was unnecessary. Yeah.
Okay, John, but the topic to discuss between Adley and I guess if I can put it in this question, if you allow me, John. Not only Adley, but Ruben Loftus-Cheek, and I don't understand this. Why is Ruben Loftus-Cheek playing the forward cam and Adley being, you could say, the Benacer replacement? Because, like you've mentioned, Adley offensively or trying to find that pass, I think he's got a good eye for it. But defensively, I'm starting to worry a bit. So, what do you think? Should this be like how we set up?
I think I might be a bit slow, but I'm starting to see flaws in Adley's game that are quite severe. So, a couple of things. He sees a vertical pass like no other player that we have. So he will see lines and he will pick out that pass. It's mind-blowing, some of the stuff he's doing. It's I would go as far as, this is going to be controversial, some of those long straight passes that he's putting in are Pirlo-esque in their quality. The issue he has, and every now and then, he does a turn on the ball and controls the ball, cutting out 3 or 4 attacking players around him, and he moves out of danger. Pirlo did that in and out every single match. He could do that. Adley cannot do that. He will sometimes dwell on the ball for too long and get caught out. That's why him being in that defensive position is quite risky. He needs someone around him that can mop up the ball. But those vertical passes are out of this world. But there's something else about his game that I want your opinions on, because I don't know if I'm the only one that sees this or thinks this. He seems to have very low fitness levels. So he explodes and then he'll disappear. And then he explodes and then he'll disappear. Like he can't maintain a level throughout the game. So if you notice at the start of the second half, he did a move where he literally cut off 3 or 4 Empoli players, ran forward and picked out a beautiful pass. Then after that, he will often just disappear out of the game. And again, in the first half, those vertical passes. I think he's more suited to a further forward position. Or what I would like to see is a 4-2-3-1 where he is next to a player who is capable of cleaning up around him to prevent all those very serious flaws that he has in his defensive game. He definitely has flaws in his defensive game.
Do you know what
cannot.
Do you know what I really wanted to see in the last game, in the Cagliari game? I remember we played Romero up in that cam position.
Yeah.
And he was just very ineffective.
Yeah.
It would have been great to see Adley there just for even the second half, just to see what he could do. Because the thing is him playing where he's playing, it's unfortunate, but that's the formation that we're set up with, right? I don't think so, Christian. I think Adley's problem is he's very much a luxury player, but he needs too many players suited to him, and I don't think he has the qualities to warrant that.
What's Christian's question, Shane?
Oh, sorry. Christian was saying Adley and Benacer together. I want
to see the experiment. I actually want to see that experiment, Shane. I'd love to see that experiment in maybe the Coppa d'Italia, as you said, a game where you can afford to try something, right?
Yeah.
I want to see it,
especially up at Cam, because I think he does spot a killer pass very well. But then even with that, right, there's a couple of times where it's like you say, John, he does hold the ball too long sometimes, and then he just gets beaten off the ball because physically he's not there. So that's a bit of a detriment. Keep in mind as well, I think for me, we have a more like potentially accomplished player. I want to go that far and say it in CDK, who didn't perform there last season. And I think, if CDK can't do it, fair enough. The problems are probably mental with CDK because he's doing well in Atalanta, but I can't see Adley going to Atalanta and playing that well. Do you see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I just don't. I think he can really spot a great pass and he can execute it very well. But when you look at the gaping holes in the rest of his game, I just don't think he's enough.
Yeah, but now we have to play him, Shane.
Yeah.
Because of the discussion we're going to have in a minute about Krunic.
Onto that discussion about Krunic and all other match comments. We have a special segment for everyone. This is called the Pioli Corner.
Yeah.
So in this, we will actually go through some of the highlights, if you can call it that, or even the lowlights, depending on what he said about Pioli and how he's such a media-friendly, nice guy, and how helpful his comments are towards the club. So, John, you analyzed his comments and after translating them, give us a run of what he said.
I have picked out some of the good ones because there's a lot of stuff. But once again, it's nice to go back to the original material in Italian and translate it because sometimes things are left out, right? I want to say something, guys, that, and probably the most important thing. One of the journalists approached Pioli and says, I have been badly affected by the behavior of Krunic. You made him into a crucial piece of our squad. How on earth do you deal with a player who made up having back pain whilst sitting on the bench? And Pioli's response was, reality is that the best for us and for him is best for him to go and find another club. By the way, it's not just him that's made the decision, Pioli said. I have also judged that he's not the right fit for us. I don't agree with that one. I think Pioli would, if and I'll tell you, this goes out to something else. So there is a journalist in Italy called Andrea Longoni. In case you're not familiar with him, he's a sports journalist and presenter of Qui Studio Voice Studio. So he's known as QSVS, this show, right? And he came out with a short video and said, Krunic has done an absolute disservice to the club. And I was trying to understand what this was. And he explained that in the Coppa d'Italia game against Cagliari, Pioli told Krunic to warm up because Benny was coming off the pitch. Krunic turned around to Pioli and said, no, my back's hurting. So that's where Adli coming on came from. Adli was not the first choice, and it's completely unacceptable behavior. And that's something that, it has to be said that Krunic has basically cut all of his ties with the club. He is not going to be utilized. So,
and John,
another
he's also removed the club from his Instagram profile, I think. Not from the pictures, but from the bio.
Are you joking me?
No, he's done it.
Wow. Well,
that's
okay.
a really bad breakup.
It's a bad breakup. All right, so why he was asked this question in the interview? Why are you not playing your most informed striker? It was for the game today, right? Why are you starting with Giroud? Why are you dealing with it this way? And he says his answer was, I am lucky to have two informed strikers who are available for me to choose from. So that's Pioli's answer to that one. Against Cagliari, did you expect more from Chucky, since it was his opportunity to play for us before going to AFCON? And his answer was, it is true that Chucky is taking longer to integrate into our system, but this has been accentuated by two injuries with the national squad. So it looks like Pioli seeing that Chucky is actually taking longer than he wants to be integrated. Another question was, what is your assessment of Theo in the centre-back position? And Pioli said, actually, Theo playing in this position could extend his career by a very long way. He needs more time to develop his defensive qualities, but this is something that he could do. Okay. Now, then a very good question was, how can you rest players with this limited squad roster in the coming 3 games? Are you going to change tactics in game? So this goes back to our point, guys, that we were talking about the team being gassed. So one of the journalists said to him, are you going to switch formations in game to allow players to kind of sit back a little bit and rest? And his answer was not that. It was, we're only focusing on one game at a time. We have to focus everything on Empoli, but then with 2 days rest, we go again against Atalanta. It's clear, however, as you saw with the Coppa d'Italia, that I will give opportunities for even the youth. So he's taking a lot of credit for a lot of these things. And I just wanted to finish off by saying something that's really quite funny. Ranieri, after the Cagliari Milan game, this blew up in Italy, guys, because it was hilarious. They said, was this a difficult match for you? Was it not merited? Ranieri said, the result was absolutely fair, because when we conceded the first goal, we melted like snow in the sun. It's a beautiful way for Ranieri to summarize that. And then I want to give one piece of news and one piece of news only. Gianni Rivera is taking Milan in front of the European Court of Justice. He's complaining that Milan has been using his image rights in using objects such as his match shirt in the museum at Casa Milan without his permission. So it looks like he is going to be taking us potentially because he wants to sue the club for some money.
I was about to say, that's someone whose investments haven't worked out. That's what that is.
Well, Gianni Rivera is a legend of the club, so we can't really. It's sad. It's just sad, really, for me, to be honest. And then there is talk about Jimenez and extended his loan for 5 million euros from Real Madrid. That's that pretty much finishes Pioli Corner. I don't know if you guys want to say anything about any of those comments.
Just
I do.
Hosni, I think your camera is drifting in and out. You seeing that, or is it just me?
Oh, maybe just the focus.
No, it's kind of going black, and then coming off and on.
Okay,
It's
my
switching
bad.
on. Yeah, it's flickering. You're right.
Yeah.
Let me adjust. Sorry, you guys go ahead while I adjust the camera.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, sorry. So, yeah. Just what you were saying there, John, earlier. Oh, hey, Andon. Thanks for joining, man. It's great to have you. Uh, Christian, was today really our first clean sheet? Was that of the season? Surely
What?
not. No,
No. We beat Monza, didn't we? 3-0.
we did. I was hoping. I know defensively we've been pants this season, but like, jeez, it's kind of one of those things that could be semi-true. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, wouldn't surprise me. He's got Skynet's attacking.
Oh, of the new year. Fair enough, Christian. For the
Oh,
new
the new
year,
year.
okay.
Oh, yeah, fair enough. I was gonna say, yeah,
He's
it'd be
hacking
fun
me.
that's it. You're in trouble, man.
Yeah, sorry.
trouble.
What I wanted to say is that I just want to find. I found Ranieri's comments quite funny, but we've always known Ranieri to be quite a colorful character. I mean, do you remember some of his Leicester post-game conferences? So he was talking about buying pizza. You guys want to, if you guys do well, I'll buy pizza for the team and all that. So yeah, the thing about Ranieri, and really one of the reasons why I respect him is that he's always been very friendly towards the crowd. Yeah, so I don't remember him putting a press conference that's been very hostile. Pioli is bordering on that hostility, saying in some of his responses. I know he's under a lot of pressure, but you could argue that Ranieri is under immensely a lot of pressure. He's about to get relegated if he doesn't do any better. So, yeah, I think that's really the mark of a gentleman. And I guess our gentleman, Theo Bold Pioli, can't handle Krunic, who's been his favorite player over the past 3 or 4 years, ever since he came. Yeah. But other than that, yeah, I think it's pretty much standard from Pioli, taking credit for Abate's work. Even though, given the choice, he would never put any of those players in the match if he was given the choice. Because as we know, he likes to play it safe, and he likes to really stick with guys on age. Maybe he works on seniority, but that's just him. That's my take.
Well, we've got Atalanta coming up.
Can you guys see Traore playing when Okafor comes back? Because I can't, and that's a shame.
No. Yeah, and a shame. There's a point there. Pioli was asked about when Okafor could come back, and Pioli suggested the Roma game. So, yeah, as the senior players come in, he'll just phase the youth out unless he's forced again by injuries. I'm confident of that.
It's a shame.
So who do we have to thank for this Primavera players? Is it Pioli or actually the medical team? We might have to give the medical team some credit here. If they hadn't put the guys in the hospital, we might never have seen these goals.
Can I just say something? I did see a news piece in Italy, and I don't know if this is concrete, but apparently Forlani has given Pioli an ultimatum that he must fire his entire training squad. And so, so I'm mentioning it early because I've heard it on Italian media.
I love that. He won't take the step to do it himself.
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay.
And I think that's a good cue into how our management actually works. And if you guys don't have anything else, we'll actually move on to the next topic, which is actually I have something special for everyone here who's watching. It's called Management Madness. So this is title of the pod, and the reason why I wanted to cover it is that it's good to know what are the backgrounds of the people that are running this club outside of the sporting arena, because like you mentioned, Forlani, what is his background? Why does he do the things that he does? And the same thing with Scaroni. Keeping in mind is that both were names mentioned by Maldini in his fiery comeback interview that he gave to, I think it was radio, or to the interview. But I just want to take you guys through our club and all the publicly available information about really how we are organized. So I have here, for those who are listening on the podcast, I'm sorry you can't see this, but I have a list of the AC Milan management team as put on by the website. So they have 21 positions, really. You do not see Moncada's name. Maybe they don't consider him part of the management team, but more for the sporting side. But we have 21 individuals that is running the club. And what I would like to do is that I want to focus on 3 names. One is Scaroni. So for those who don't know, Scaroni he's been around, you could say, in terms of not only the business side but also in terms of the footballing side. He was chairman of the Vicenza club from 97 to 99. And I think that's a big highlight because they actually topped Serie B at that point and they actually won the Italian Cup. So from then, he spent a lot of time in business and, he did a lot of things with McKinsey and all that. And he was appointed to the board of directors in 2017 and then chairman in 2018. So you could say this is around the Elliott era or how Elliott was running things. So the next profile is Forlani. Now Forlani, everyone has heard his name before, is that he is a portfolio manager. So he comes from the business side of things. And he worked for Elliott and he was appointed to the board in 2018. And in 2022, he became the CEO, replacing Ivan Gazidis, who, after winning the Scudetto, everyone, I think, generally leaves Ivan with fond memories. And the next person in focus is Jeffrey Moncada, who graduated in communications and commerce. For those who are who studied the same thing back in university or in college, he started off as a video analyst. He joined Monaco in 2012 and became the scouting coordinator in 2016. And during this period, we heard names, for example, like Kylian Mbappe and all those other hotshots that are playing globally for the league. 2018 is our chief scout, and last year he became our technical director. You could say, in essence, replacing Maldini. Now, the reason why I mentioned these three names is really to come to the next slide, which is very important, is that if we are a top club, how does it actually compare to some of the other top clubs that we can name? So I took two examples. One in Manchester City, who you could say are well placed every season consistently to win the Premier League and to make a good, if not a good run, or actually win the Champions League. And serial winners, Real Madrid. So if you compare Manchester City, they have taken a bulk of people, even from the business side, but most of these individuals have been involved in football for a long time. This is somewhat of a stark contrast to how Elliott / Redbird, because I know that Elliott still has some say in terms of how Redbird is running things as a result of the loan conditions and the buyover of the club, is that we seem to be more of a money or a business focused club as compared to Manchester City, which is then, if you talk it to the next extreme of Real Madrid, because they are one of 4 clubs in Spain that is owned by the fans. So they're referred to as the socios. And the famous name behind Real Madrid's management right now is Florentino Perez. As you know, he's kept, ever since he was elected as president in 2000, he's actually done well for the club. If you look at the achievements that he's done, he's got a new stadium, several Champions League, he's overtaken us, and of course, the Galacticos generation they started in 2000, which I think goes well with the good branding. So I guess as a conclusion of what I'm saying is that maybe this is a question to both of you, both John and Shane. Do you think with what I've explained and with the profile of those at the top of our club, and keeping also in mind with what Maldini said, because Maldini comes from a different background, he was a football player, he comes purely from the sporting line, if you could say that, to work with people who essentially have spent most of their lives in business, making business decisions, how they do things. Could you have, knowing all this, have foreseen that this split would have happened, that they would have thrown Maldini or not sided with Maldini, hence leading to sacking? And where do you think this then leads to our club going forward? Because like you mentioned, John, Forlani, coming from the business side, I guess this is something that a business manager would do, right? He would tell the boss to fire his staff rather than, I'm the CEO, I can pretty much do what I want. Or do you see it more of like, him being the politically correct business animal?
No, I don't. So, your question, I guess what you're referring to here is the fact that, are we run by people who don't understand football? That's really the question you're asking here, isn't it? Have they put people in place who see business above football? And I'm gonna be, again, this is controversial maybe, but my opinion is yes, we are run by people who don't understand football, who don't understand the size of Milan, the kind of club it is. Your comparison here is talking about a team that is at the pinnacle at the current of world club football, Manchester City. and you've got a team that historically is the greatest of all time in European football, Real Madrid. And I understand why you picked them, because we should be being compared to these gigantic behemoths of world football, but we're not, because we're not being run, in my opinion, like a club in order to be able to return to the pinnacle. Um, and it's, yeah, no, Nathan, your point exactly. I found that so shocking. You know, and Cardinales, oh, it's only after I joined that I realized that they won so many European trophies. I thought, oh my God, we're in trouble. You're going to put people underneath you who generally don't understand. So, Hasni, to your point about the Maldini sacking, uh, did that make sense with this group? Absolutely. All of the attention that Maldini got, all of the control that he wanted, all of his wishes, including his so-called report that he wrote to return to the Champions League greatness. I don't think for 1 minute that Cardinale read that report or was interested. It's just wasting his time to bide his time to sack him, not to use anything within that report. Do you really think Cardinale wants to return to the pinnacle? Absolutely not. Does not want to return to the pinnacle. All he wants, and again, he has said this, he just wants middle table clubs, form a Keiretsu of club, and this is his word, Keiretsu of clubs, where he'll be able to share players and then training facilities. So what's his goal now? For us to start sharing players with Toulouse? Is that the level that he wants us to be at? Hopefully not, right? But yeah, to your point, you all compared us to the greatest. And when you first mentioned it to me, Hasni, I said to you, my response to you was, why are you comparing us with clubs that know what they're doing? and I think that's the problem, isn't it? Nothing we have done shows that we know what we're doing at the moment. But I agree with Andon. Moncada has been the one piece of the puzzle that really finds talent, and he knows what he's doing. Everyone else, no, I don't think so. Shame to you, sir.
So I'd said this many, many months ago. The way that I'd seen Redbird coming in and taking us over, this is by no means a long-term plan for Redbird to keep a hold of us. I'd said it before all this business came out with, Cardinale looking for new investors. I'd said it way before Tonali and Maldini leaving. For me, I think the Redbird vision is to essentially get the stadium built as quickly as they can and then flip it. And this is what it is. I don't. I think what's happened is we've been sidelined into ownership that sees us, being a Europa League squad. Potentially we could go on and win the Europa League, but at the end of the day, who really cares for the most part? And like if it's because we've been knocked out of the UCL, I mean, right? What would you rather win, right? The UCL or the Europa League, right? Yeah, and that's true. And the only way they can do that is if the club is doing good. So yeah, Redbird never said this is a long-term plan. They want to raise the value of the club and sell for a higher price. That's true, but like doing good is relative, right? Like doing good doesn't mean, like being expected to get to the semi-finals of the Champions League every year. Doing good could be okay. Let's try and finish with a positive balance sheet.
Yes, said exactly. Doing good is an objective that says, at minimum, make Europa League. That is your objective for the season. At minimum, win one knockout round in the Europa League. That's doing good.
Yeah, it's all about what they're classing as doing good. Like the fact that, we're so far behind in the league means, and they haven't done Pioli, means that, them being serious about winning the league isn't a thing. Right? So, I mean, if we're being serious about not winning the league and not qualifying for the knockouts of the Champions League, well then, okay, that's to them, we're not doing too badly. Because if they seen that we were doing badly, Pioli wouldn't be there, right? And we gotta keep that in mind. True, but like, it's in terms of money, I agree totally. But I think there would have been there's a very good argument here, and I've tried to split off the love I have for Maldini from Maldini being the player versus Maldini the sporting director, right? And then him obviously getting fired, right? And the way that that happened. But when I think about our current, the last Mercato that we had, I think Maldini probably would have had, well, obviously would have had a far better footballing IQ than, Moncada, Forlani, and Pioli have had, right? Because I don't think they would have left us without a CDM for most of the season. So it's the small things like that, and I think that's where we're failing. And let's be honest, like ownership were very lucky when Maldini was there, right? Because he was a like he's a name that just brought an awful lot of respect back to the club, right? And we've kind of lost that, and I think we're just we're really kind of starting to see the limitations here of not just Moneyball but current ownership. And to be honest, the more quickly that Redbird just decides that hopefully with the growth decree no longer being a thing, it's probably given them less options to be able to invest. So I'm hoping he just sells this to someone who actually wants sport and success.
Okay, yeah, and I think you guys said a lot of the things that, yeah, I completely agree with things. In terms of what I believe that the setup will be, is that I honestly believe this is how Redbird wants it. They probably respond to this idea of with Elliot, and Elliot said, okay, fine, I guess it's acceptable to us, and they'll continue to do this, so I'm not expecting anything drastic. Should we even drop out of top 4 or top 5, I don't know how many Champions League places they will sign for us next season. But this also gets into our next segment, which is just for everyone's awareness. Yeah, we also this week and onwards be doing a player in focus, and I think one of the players that we wanted to cover, starting from our first player, is actually Mike. So just pull this up. This is the FIFA card, and a little bit about Mike Maignan, and some of the discussions with regards to money and how then this club is being managed will actually tie in very well in terms of how then do we see Mike Maignan. So just a bit of a run up. What we have here on screen is that I have the FIFA card, FIFA 24 card for Mike Maignan, and his contract expires 2026. I know they're working to renew him. We got him from Lille for 15.4 million. He was a PSG youth product. But if you think about it, Lille did one better. They only got him for 1 million. But thanks to Maldini, who after all that Gigio drama, will get him on the season on a salary of 2.8 million net per season. I know there've been a lot of discussion in terms of what he wants, but I think the most that management will probably offer him is around Leao money, or just a bit less than that. But performance-wise, this season, 15 appearances, 6 clean sheets, and 18 goals conceded. Keeping in mind that a lot of the goals actually came from very, very poor games that we played, so I wouldn't pin it all on him. But yeah, I think on this particular point, I just started off and to link it back with that money discussion. What do you think, Shane, in terms of the salary question? If he really wants to stick, and I know this has been reported in the media a little bit, if he really wants to stick to a high salary of being, the best paid player or the best paid goalkeeper in Europe, possibly, how far do you think that this management will actually take it and really to try to keep Mike there?
Yeah. So this is the thing. So I think if all of our dreams came true and we got, I don't know, someone, maybe a fund from the Middle East to come in and just, take us over, I think, more than likely then the salary cap gets raised and we can start bringing in some, very good players. Unfortunately, though, we don't have that. We have Redbird that are penny pinching. So I'd be highly surprised if he stays, especially because he knows, his agent knows that he can just go to the EPL. They'll give him everything that he asked for and more. He's definitely one of the top 3 in the world. As Andan said, he has made a couple of screw ups, but when you see some of the saves that this guy makes, he's not human. I mean, his reaction time is just amazing. Like you can't teach that. You can't pull that out of the Primavera. I'm sorry, you can't. I mean, this guy is insanely good. If it's a toss up of us being able to sell him, at a huge markup instead of him going on a free. Unfortunately, I think that's what we have to take. It's a risk that we have to take, really. If we can get, Onana went for what, 60 million? I
Something
think
like
something
that. Great
right.
deal. Great deal.
So I'd be very interested to see what we could get from Maignan if we could start a bidding war between the huge clubs. If that could then be reinvested into a somewhat sufficient keeper and then, a centre back and a CDM, then unfortunately I'm all for it, because just, us getting in a starting quality CDM and a centre back would, add defensively to the squad. Obviously, I don't want to see, world class talent, because he is world class in these days, but I just can't see it happening, and it really sucks. So yeah, for me, I think it's probably it's going to be a Kessie type situation where he just runs down the clock and then leaves for free, because we know that we can't really. Yeah.
So I don't think that Maignan will be allowed to leave for free because of the current management structure. I think they'll sell him. They'll look for buyers for him. I don't think that they'll have money to renew him either on the wages that he wants. But I've said it before, I'll say it again. I think he deserves those wages. I think he is the prototype of the perfect modern goalkeeper. To think this is a guy that's had assists every season for the last 2-3 seasons is remarkable as a goalkeeper. But he is a sweeper keeper. It's exactly the kind of one that you want. And every Premier League team would be very lucky to have him. We have him on wages that are ridiculous for the quality that he is. 2.8 million a season for someone like this is unbelievable. So to ask for a raise is not too much at all. But I think there's only one way. If current ownership stays, there's only one way that this guy's maintained, is if we sell someone else in the summer, use that money and put part of it towards his contract, so that his markup in price will be even higher. June 2026 is another 2 years. As we all know, we don't want a Donnarumma or Kessie situation again. But I don't think this ownership would allow that, because this ownership is so focused on budgets. That's one thing where you can say, if you could have something from this ownership that could have been leveled with Maldini at the time, would have been maybe this. But we'll see where that goes. I don't think we keep him, I'm afraid to say. I don't see it.
Okay, all good points, and I agree with you, John. I think that maybe keeping world-class talents. I'm honestly, if you ask me, I'm very surprised with what Maldini and Massara did with regards to Liao. I thought Liao would have left, but they managed to get a deal with him. I don't know whether all that fines, that penalty, that things amount owed to Lille was part of it, but
we paid that off, didn't we?
Officially, what they said is that they didn't want to pay it off, but as you've disclosed, and I think there's a previous point, is that we did, in the accounts is reflected. So I don't know whether that kind of magic still exists within the management to go and do these things. I don't know whether there's even one of those things where that led to Maldini sacking, because once you overstep the boundaries of business, then you're going to have all these vultures on you asking, are you doing then the right thing? Because it's the right thing for the club, yes, but whether it's the right thing for the business, that's where the ownership might disagree with you. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's really the last topic that we have, and guys, if you have some parting words. But before that, I just want to thank everyone in chat. I don't think we spent time to thank Christian, Andon, Nathan, Gunardi. Who else have we missed? Hopefully we haven't missed anyone else.
Hopefully we haven't.
Yeah, but thanks to all for being in the chat and being very engaged. We truly appreciate it, guys. But any closing comments from you guys?
I think I'll just say one thing. I'll say that, and I don't know if you guys feel the same, but isn't it, if we look at the overall picture, right, of the club and where it is, and maybe we sound a little bit downhearted about the bigger picture because of that ownership. But for me, the genuine excitement that I'm feeling these days is when we see more of these youth players coming in. I genuinely feel like that is my Milan. And I want to see players come on that fight for their position and give everything on the pitch. And I feel that when the youth players are coming in. So there's still plenty to look forward to, and that's sort of kind of the positivity that I want to finish with. We've got a tough game against Atalanta coming up, as Pioli said. Proper 2 days rest, and then Wednesday we're up again. So let's see where we go there. That's going to be a much tougher game, but there is genuine excitement in this Primavera squad and what they can contribute to the senior squad, and that's what I hold on to these days. Shame.
Yeah, so I guess I echo that sentiment as well, right? I think the key thing is not to get too overly excited, right, when it comes to them, because I mean, there's a big difference in being able to pull off a goal versus the likes of Cagliari and Empoli compared to the likes of, let's say, Atalanta.
Very fair,
right?
Very fair comment.
So but definitely it is looking positive, right? It's looking more positive than it is negative, especially for the Primavera products. Another positive thing though that I'd like to add is I quite like the fact that as soon as the growth decree was done away with, we've actually signed an Italian player, because it's I think I made the joke on Milan Weekly Pod on the pre-game, but I've said it a couple of times, but it's like for a while there we were kind of becoming more international than Inter, right? And that should tell you something, because it's it's shocking to see a lack of Italian talent. Not to say that there's anything wrong with any of the players that being from different countries, but like at its core though, it's a team in the Italian league, and it should have, I think, a strong quality Italian backbone, which we're kind of missing. So hopefully with the removal of the growth decree from being a factor, we should hopefully see more good Italian young talent, and it's just great to see it. It's great to see it. Yeah, and just a thing on Jimenez though, I'm so disappointed to figure out that it's like Real have a buyback clause inserted in that loan. It's like it's just really shocking when you see that, because it's kind of whoever is making these deals for us. It's kind of, we've just become a nursery. First it was Diaz, now it's Jimenez. We've become a nursery for these players, and then next thing they just go back to Real or they go back to wherever, and it's kind of we're left nursing the wound from having to refill the position. So that really sucks. I think the buyout is like 20 million, if I understand. So it's not like it's a hugely high number. It's just it's a bit.
I heard it's 2025 actually. I heard that today.
Something like that. Yeah, it's in a way it's probably good, because I guess Real learned after Theo, right, that they were like, maybe we should insert a buyback clause, but still kind of sucks for us. But yeah, overall though, it's good to have that complaint, because Jimenez I'm very excited for. Oh, so it's only for 2 years. Oh, okay, so 2025, 2026. So my understanding on that is if it goes past that time window of 2025, 2026, then there's no buyback. If that's correct, then yeah, that's far more positive for us, because he's an exciting player for me, and I just really want to see him play ahead of Calabria just for a game or two and see how he goes, and for the summer only. Okay, cool. Thanks for the clarification.
All right, well, with that, I think we had a good pod and we covered a lot of topics. Once again, thanks to everyone for joining us in the chat. For those who are listening to us on our various socials, keep in mind that we're also on X/Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Instagram. OnlyFans, not yet.
No. I am not on that, mate.
If we really want to monetize, then we would go that way. But that's yeah. Thanks to everyone for joining us, and of course, Forza Milan as always.
Ciao a tutti, Forza Milan.
Italia!